Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live today, immigration updates. See what's going on in the immigration law world. So, in this particular episode, I'd like to start with a description of business waivers. So, a lot of people want to come into the United States in order to, do business, in order to start their own company, in order to do what's necessary to come in and basically increase their business, their profits, and so forth. And there's a lot of people that are inadmissible for some reason. Okay, now inadmissibility in immigration law is a very big deal. Okay, people who want to come into the U.S. can be inadmissible because of fraud, misrepresentation, because of a bunch of different kinds of crimes, because of unlawful presence, because of prior deportation orders, because of medical issues. I mean, it goes on and on. Okay, and so a lot of times when people want to come in, they have to do what's necessary, and they have to wonder if there's a way that they can get into the United States on a business visa, even though they're inadmissible. And the answer is yes. Okay. First of all, there's all different kinds of business visas. Of course, there's the B1 for business. There's the E2 for people who come from treaty countries who want to start their own business. There's the H-1B, specialty occupation visa, for people who have degrees that, get a job related to that. H-3s, which are various types of visas that are for training purposes. H-2Bs, which are for temporary type. There's O-1s, which are extraordinary alien type petitions, doing different things that where they're essentially at the top of their field. Basically, when I do an O1, I say, how many years of experience do you have? And if they come back with the number of, 10 or 15 or more, then it's very doable, depending, to get an O1. And then there's P1s, which are for athleticism and groups and things like that. I mean, I could go on and on. As you can see, there are a lot of different kinds of business visas. So I have lots of people in the past, many years ago, they might have been deported and they're now working for a company overseas and they need to come into the US, for example, to negotiate contracts. Or they want to come in and start their own business, but they have a crime. Some of them have, for example, possession for sale, 1 gram cocaine. Okay. Obviously, that's a bad thing, but that makes them an aggravated felon. A lot of them got deported, and they can never come back because of that. And they did something stupid when they were young, and unfortunately, they think they can't get out of it, and they're barred for life from coming back to the U.S. So let's take an example. Let's say, person's from Colombia, okay? And let's say when they were 19 or 20, they had a, crime. The possession for sale of cocaine, and it was 1 gram or whatever. And let's say that they pled guilty. And even if they didn't really do it, they had the prosecutor in their face and they, essentially said, you plead guilty to this or you're going to serve, the next 30 years in prison type thing. So what they did is they pled guilty and then they get deported. And now they're back in Colombia and they've been there for 20 years. And let's say they have a business, okay? Let's say they have a business and they to come
Hello.
to the U.S., okay? Oh, I didn't know that by pressing that this happens. How do I how do I continue with my shoot? Uh, okay. Anyways, I don't know what to do that I press this. Okay, let me just continue. Sorry. Okay, so anyways, they're from Colombia and they want to start their own business. Okay, so they start their own business and they want to come to the U.S. on the E2. Okay, so on the E2, they have the money to start. They come here, need to do, and then when they come to the US, when they come to the border, of course, they're going to say, well, sorry, you're inadmissible. You cannot come because you have a crime 22 years ago, possession for sale. So what do? It's called a business waiver. Okay, a business waiver of inadmissibility. And the law is under 212D3. And what does that do? Okay, a 212D3 non-immigrant waiver is basically preparing a whole petition with affidavits, evidence, support, all kinds of stuff that will show why you should be admissible to the US and why this crime from 20 years ago should not make it so that you can never come back into the US. It's really like a scale, okay? It's like a scale. You have the bad stuff on one side, that's the crime, and then you have all the good stuff, okay? And we try to expand on that. What have you been doing the last 20 years? How have you, made it so that you are essentially a good person? What business have you had? What are your family ties to the US? All this stuff. So we minimize the bad stuff. We maximize the good stuff. We submit the waiver. And then what happens is you will take the waiver and submit it at the interview, and then they won't say yes or no right there. Okay, what will happen is they will be able to bring it to their supervisor, later adjudicate it, and then determine whether or not you're eligible to get the waiver. And if it's granted, then when it's granted, you will be able to come into the United States to run your business, whether it's open a business or come in on the B1, and you will be able to be here even though you're inadmissible on various different grounds. Okay? So that, in essence, is what a business waiver is. So don't think just because you have, some ground of inadmissibility and that, you can't go and come in any other way, that you're barred forever from coming to the U.S., okay? So given that, understand that there's all kinds of waivers for different things. And whether, again, it's medical or it's criminal or it's based on financial reasonings or misrepresentation or fraud, the non-immigrant waiver, which can definitely be used as a business waiver, can be used for any type of reason and any type of purpose, and the only bar is that you're not a security risk to the United States. Okay? If you're not a security risk to the United States, of course you have to argue that, then you qualify to do the business waiver to come into the U.S. Okay? So that's the spiel on business waivers and so forth. So if any of you have any particular questions on immigration law, then you will ask them here. I'll be able to let you know what can be done and so forth. Okay. Now keep in mind that August 19th, just around the corner, is going to be the beginning of the Biden executive order for people who are eligible to be able to apply, to be able to adjust in the United States. Okay. And from there, you will be able to move forward and not have to worry about leaving the United States and be able to adjust in the U.S. Okay? So given that, that is the gist of today. So I'm going to sign off now, and we'll do more next week. Okay? So I always forget how to sign off on this thing. Just